You pray, you worship, you go to church, but deep down, something still feels missing, like your soul is silently screaming in a crowded room. And here's the shocking truth. Spiritual emptiness isn't always because you're far from God. It's often because you're closer than ever, and the enemy is terrified. You feel empty because you've mistaken noise for presence. You filled your life with Christian activity but neglected deep intimacy. Just like Martha, busy serving while Mary sat at Jesus' feet, and he said Mary chose what was better. Luke 10 verse 42. You scroll through sermons, devotions, and inspirational quotes, but you've stopped sitting in stillness long enough to hear his whisper, and that silence, though painful, is holy ground. Sometimes, the emptiness is God detoxing your soul from emotional highs so you learn to walk by faith, not feelings. 2 Corinthians 5 verse 7. You crave goosebumps and fireworks, but God is building endurance in your spirit, teaching you that his presence isn't always loud. It's in the whisper, like Elijah found in the cave. 1 Kings 19 verse 12. And here's a dangerous one. You've been secretly feeding your flesh while starving your spirit. You binge-watch chaos, entertain compromise, laugh at sin disguised as humor, and wonder why your soul feels numb. Galatians 6 verse 8 warns that those who sow to the flesh will reap corruption. The truth is, some of your emptiness is a warning signal, not an absence of God, but the absence of surrender. You're holding on to what God asked you to lay down, relationships he told you to release, habits he told you to break, identities he never gave you, and that disobedience dries up your well. You can't walk in spiritual fullness while dragging dead weight. And maybe the most shocking reason of all, you've been eating from someone else's altar. You rely on your pastor's fire, your favorite influencer's inspiration, your worship leader's passion, but you haven't built your own altar in the secret place. The oil you borrow will never sustain your battle. Matthew 25 proves this in the parable of the 10 virgins. The foolish ones had lamps but no oil, and when the bridegroom came, they were locked out. Your breakthrough won't come from imitation, it comes from consecration. And the enemy loves to distract you with good things to keep you from the God thing. He doesn't have to make you fall. He just has to keep you busy enough, offended enough, or distracted enough that you settle for shallow waters. But God is calling you deeper, and he will strip away every counterfeit comfort until your hunger leads you back to him, raw and real. The emptiness you feel isn't always punishment, it's an invitation. A divine invitation to return to your first love, to get low before the Lord again, to weep over your idols, to fast for clarity, to silence the noise until his voice is the only one you crave. Revelation 2 verse 4 warns of leaving our first love, not abandoning the faith, but growing so cold and routine that our fire dies quietly. So if you feel spiritually empty right now, don't numb it, trace it. Where did the disconnect begin? What have you tolerated that quenches the spirit? What altar have you stopped visiting? What lie have you started believing? Because when you get brutally honest before God, he'll meet you in the mess and breathe life into dry bones. Ezekiel 37 verse 5. You were never meant to survive on stale manna. You were made to feast daily in his presence. So if you feel dry, don't give up. Dig deeper. Cry harder. Repent louder. Because your emptiness may just be the labor pains before revival, and what feels like a void is actually the space God reserved for something holy.